In the annals of American comedy, few figures are as iconic and beloved as Lou Costello. With his cherubic face, mischievous grin, and impeccable comedic timing, Lou Costello was the heart and soul of the legendary comedy duo Abbott and Costello. Together with Bud Abbott, he created a brand of humor that transcended the stage and screen, bringing joy to millions during some of the most turbulent times in American history. Yet behind the scenes, Costello's life was far from the carefree image he projected on stage. His journey from a working-class neighborhood in Paterson, New Jersey, to the heights of Hollywood stardom was marked by personal tragedies, health struggles, and an enduring commitment to making people laugh, even as his own world fell apart. This essay delves into the life of Lou Costello, exploring the highs and lows of his career, the personal demons he faced, and the tragic circumstances surrounding his untimely death. Louis Francis Costello was born on March 6, 1906, in Paterson, New Jersey, into a large, close-knit Italian-American family. His parents, Sebastiano Costello and Helen Ray Gay, were immigrants who instilled in him the values of hard work, family loyalty, and a deep Catholic faith. As a child, Lou was small in stature but big in personality. He was a natural entertainer, always eager to make others laugh with his antics. Despite his playful nature, he was a bright student and excelled in sports, particularly basketball, where he earned the nickname Paterson Flash for his speed on the court. However, Lou's passion for performing soon overshadowed his academic and athletic pursuits. After graduating from high school, he set his sights on Hollywood, dreaming of becoming a serious actor. His early years in Los Angeles were far from glamorous. He worked as a carpenter on film sets and took on bit roles as an extra, but his dreams of stardom seemed out of reach. Disheartened by his lack of progress, Lou eventually returned to the East Coast, where he found his true calling in vaudeville. Vaudeville was the perfect training ground for a young comedian like Lou Costello. The variety shows, with their mix of comedy, music, and novelty acts, provided a fertile ground for developing his unique style. It was here that he perfected the physical comedy and slapstick humor that would become his trademarks. Lou was a master of pratfalls, double takes, and exaggerated reactions, and his ability to play the innocent, naive character endeared him to audiences. In 1935, while performing in a burlesque show in Brooklyn, Lou met Bud Abbott, a seasoned straight man who had worked with various comedians but had yet to find the perfect partner. Abbott was tall, slim, and exuded a calm, authoritative presence, a perfect foil to Lou's short, pudgy, and frenetic energy. The chemistry between the two was immediate and electric. They began performing together, and within a short time, Abbott and Costello became one of the most popular acts on the vaudeville circuit. Their big break came in 1938 when they were invited to perform on the national radio show, The Kate Smith Hour. The duo's segment, Who's On First?, became an overnight sensation. The routine, a rapid-fire exchange of wordplay and misunderstandings about baseball player names, showcased their perfect timing and rapport. Who's On First? Would go on to become one of the most famous comedy routines in history, cementing Abbott and Costello's place in the pantheon of American humor. The success of Who's On First? Opened the doors to Hollywood for Abbott and Costello. In 1940, they signed a contract with Universal Pictures, and their first film, One Night in the Tropics, was released later that year. Although they were not the stars of the film, their performance stole the show, and Universal quickly realized they had struck gold with the duo. Over the next decade, Abbott and Costello starred in a series of hit films that made them the highest-paid entertainers in the world. Films like Buck Privates, 1941, Hold That Ghost, 1941, In the Navy, 1941, and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, 1948, showcased their versatility and ability to adapt their vaudeville routines to the screen. Their comedy was a mix of slapstick, wordplay, and situational humor, appealing to audiences of all ages. During World War II, Abbott and Costello were tireless in their efforts to support the war effort. They toured military bases, entertained troops, and raised millions of dollars in war bonds. Their film, Buck Privates, released in 1941, was not only a box office hit but also served as a morale booster for American soldiers. The duo's popularity soared during this period, and they became synonymous with laughter and lighthearted escapism during a time of global conflict. Despite their success, the intense workload began to take a toll on both men. They were often working on multiple films at once, in addition to their radio show and live performances. The pressure to produce new material and maintain their status as Hollywood's top comedy team was immense. Moreover, the business side of their partnership was fraught with tension. Bud Abbott, who handled most of the financial matters, was known for his meticulousness and control, while Lou, who was more trusting and focused on the creative aspects, often felt shortchanged. These differences began to strain their relationship, but they managed to keep their professional lives intact, at least for the time being. As Abbott and Costello's fame grew, so did the personal challenges that Lou faced. In 1943, at the height of their popularity, tragedy struck the Costello family in the most devastating way. Lou's only son, Lou Jr., affectionately known as Butch, drowned in the family swimming pool just days before his first birthday. The loss was unimaginable for Lou and his wife, Ann, who were both devastated by the accident. For Lou, the grief was compounded by a deep sense of guilt. He had been preparing for a radio broadcast when the accident occurred, and he would later confide in friends that he felt he should have been there to prevent it. Despite the overwhelming sorrow, Lou showed incredible resilience. Just days after his son's death, he returned to work, performing on their radio show as if nothing had happened. The audience, unaware of the tragedy, was none the wiser, and Lou's performance was as energetic and humorous as ever. But those close to him could see the toll it was taking. Lou's laughter on stage masked a profound sadness that he would carry with him for the rest of his life. In addition to the loss of his son, Lou's health began to deteriorate. As a child, he had suffered from rheumatic fever, which left him with a weakened heart. Throughout his life, he battled various health issues, including repeated bouts of rheumatic fever, which required extended hospital stays. In 1945, Lou was struck down by a particularly severe case of rheumatic fever that nearly took his life. He was forced to take a year off from performing, during which time he focused on recuperating and spending time with his family. The 1950s marked a period of decline for Abbott and Costello. The post-war era brought changes in audience tastes, and the duo's brand of slapstick comedy began to fall out of favor. Additionally, television was emerging as a dominant form of entertainment, and while Abbott and Costello made the transition to the small screen, they were never able to recapture the magic of their earlier years. Financial difficulties further strained their partnership. Lou had always been generous with his earnings, often giving money to friends, family, and charities. However, his spending habits, combined with mismanagement by his financial advisors, left him in a precarious financial situation. The duo's partnership with Universal also ended, leaving them without the studio backing that had helped make them stars. By 1957, the tensions between Abbott and Costello had reached a breaking point. The once inseparable duo could no longer work together, and they decided to dissolve their partnership. It was the end of an era in comedy. Although they attempted solo careers, neither Abbott nor Costello found success on their own. Their comedic chemistry was irreplaceable, and without each other, they struggled to find an audience. After the breakup with Bud Abbott, Lou Costello's health continued to decline. He made a few solo appearances, including a television special and a film, The 30-Foot Bride of Candy Rock, 1959, but his heart wasn't in it. The years of relentless work, personal loss, and health problems had taken a severe toll on his body and spirit. On March 3, 1959, just 3 days before his 53rd birthday, Lou Costello suffered a heart attack at his home in Los Angeles. He was rushed to the hospital, where he died a few hours later. His last words, reportedly spoken to a nurse who brought him a glass of water, were, "That was the best ice cream soda I ever tasted." It was a fittingly simple and sweet final remark from a man whose life had been dedicated to bringing joy to others. The news of Lou Costello's death sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Fans and fellow performers mourned the loss of a man who had given so much of himself to make others happy. Despite the tragedies and struggles he faced, Lou Costello was remembered not for his hardships but for the laughter he brought to millions.